Okay, so how do you
Um,
know this Dorzi fellow?
from Twitter, like we're in a group chat of like journalists and activists and related to Syria and stuff. And I followed him for a while. We did an interview like almost a year ago, I think. I was hoping to talk to him again soon when there was Druze clashes in Jeramana, Sahnaya like a few months ago. But he wasn't replying, and I get it, he's busy. He also mediates a lot of negotiations, hostage exchanges and stuff like that. Like apparently
Yeah,
he's been actually in the midst of that stuff. I think he was part of some negotiations of like trying to reach a settlement. So hopefully he can explain that a bit.
that'll be really awesome. And obviously, I would assume he is anti-Assad. Does he think his voice is representative of the Druze community, especially in Suwayda?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're very united. They're a very united people. We've been trying to like pin it as like Al-Hijri is inciting them and stuff. No, no, even people who are against Al-Hijri just decided like we need to stand together because Druze are under attack right now. It became existential.
It's sad because I think many diaspora Druze, or at least those I'm in network with, were slightly more on the pro-Assad side. But I don't think that was representative of on the ground. But from what I've seen, Suwayda, they were more level-headed.
I mean, Assad sent ISIS to them like in
Yeah,
2014-ish, so they were afraid of the revolution. But during the last years before Assad fell, like they were always protesting in Karama
yeah.
Square and Dignity Square. Like they've proven like no, they're anti-Assad and everything. But just yeah, when it's an existential threat, obviously like everyone will side with their people. Okay, so I sent him the meeting. He said there is news of a huge attack on Suwayda right now, and he
Oh
needs to
shit! I thought so.
confirm.
The ceasefire is not like the one that was signed today is now done, is what he's saying.
Well, it was already broken on the countryside, but the city has mostly been settled, I think. But now he's saying there might be a resurgence of it, so he's confirming that, and then he'll hop on, I think.
Jesus. I was trying to dig a little more into the history when it all broke down between the historical relations between the Bedouins in the Southwest area and Druze and Suwayda. And it's not a novel sectarian issue, right? This is very much started under the French to a large degree because the French would it's been a continuation of the power who's in Abi basically siding with one over the other in land disputes is what I get.
Mm,
And Assad continued that trend, right? But he would favor specifically the Druze more than the Bedouins. And now the Druze feel as though Al-Shara is favoring the Bedouins over the Druze to a large degree. Maybe not in land disputes, but at least in political matters and safety
yeah,
matters.
in the speech yesterday, he praised the Bedouins while like calling the Druze militias outlaw gangs and stuff like
Yeah,
that. So like,
yeah,
yeah, it's kind of hard to say that he's not favoring one side over the other,
yeah.
or that he's expressed disapproval of Suwaida being armed, but kind of praised the armed Bedouins, or
Bedouins.
maybe even armed the Bedouins himself.
That line
It's
is
not
something
great.
I'm not fully understanding. Like the military, like is going in, but it seems like some efforts are in conjunction with the local Bedouin groups that are going in. Some seems to be independent. That's just very blurry to me, and I couldn't find a direct answer.
Me neither. Me neither.
Yeah,
Like that's the thing is it's very messy. There is no like the Syrian army has a bunch of divisions. A lot of them are come from like different pasts. Like some of them could be reconciled Assadists, some of them could be former Daesh, like some of them could be this that
yeah,
and some of them could be former SNA and like so all of these people with all these different like backgrounds get mushed together and the prevailing narrative is that they're all like, pretty much equivalent to ISIS and stuff. But I think just like lawlessness in general is outdoing itself. Like I don't know how to say it. Like criminality is the main cause. It's not like sectarianism. Like I mean, you can obviously frame it that way, but
yeah,
I think control over the army is just what's not being made a priority, I guess. And
yeah,
maybe that's part of the strategy. Like, people are saying like he sent forces that are amateurish and then they got ambushed by Sueda militias and this kind of increased the fervor and ignited people's like outrage so that
yeah,
they were more willing to defend the government. And I mean, Israel kind of did him a favor when it attacked too, because it turned this into very much like rallying around Syrian sovereignty and stuff
yeah.
like that and also kind of put a target on Druze's backs. Like people were calling for boycotting Suwayda, boycotting anyone Druze. Like people in Damascus
Mm.
University were saying, we have to kick out all Druze from
I did see
boarding.
some tweets about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there was like a lot of anti-Druze sentiment going around, and it went really too far, honestly. And so yeah, like people are going to feel under attack and they're going to regress to whoever they feel like is protecting them. And Al
Yeah.
Hijri is, you know, they don't trust him and they don't support him, but they see him as like it's not about him, it's about protecting our people from
Yeah.
annihilation, you know?
Yeah, and that's where Israel comes in. And so that's one of the things I want to ask Rami is how high do you think that sentiment is within the Druze community of viewing Israel as a legitimate protector, right? Because I think many are aware that Israel's goal is a land grab, right? They tried to use the same tactics in Lebanon in 82, right? Say you're the Maronite protector, use that as a good pretext to come in the south and occupy. So I wonder if the people in the Druze community have that mindset of, oh, they legitimately want to be our protector, or there's something more nefarious going on.
Yeah. He says he's having trouble with the mic. He's trying to join. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for an emergency episode of the Pan Levant podcast. We have, of course, my co-host Elijah and guest Rami. You may know him from a previous interview I conducted with him, I think around a year ago. And he is a Druze. He is from Suwayda. He has been observing the revolution for years and wanted to share his perspective. He has family that are in Suwayda, and he's going to debrief a little bit about the situation, and we're going to discuss what's going on and give a Syrian on the ground perspective as best as we can for everyone.
Rami, our first question is about what's currently happening in Suwayda. So you mentioned that violence is currently underway. There was supposed to be a ceasefire, was not holding in the coastal regions, but in Suwayda it was a little shaky, and it seems like that has completely faltered at this point. Can you give us your current assessment of what's
Yeah.
happening on the ground?
The ceasefires are just smoke screens for the security forces of Al-Sharaa and his army to actually try to rescue the unofficial forces he sent under the name tribal forces. So basically, he's trying to play the good cop and the bad cop for 7 days now. This is the fifth or the sixth attempt to invade Suwayda. He sends the unofficial army, which is the tribal. He has the deniability, and then when they fall into traps and they're beaten. He says, "Oh, we need to ceasefire right now. We are sending the security to be peacekeepers just between you to separate you." But then they actually lead the attack and invade more into Suwayda, and they start showing like, "Oh, we are already into Suwayda. We captured these in that hood," and then they are beaten again with traps and ambushes inside the city and kicked out. And it all loops in the same way. And there is like before, like 2 hours before every attack, there is a hype of disinformation campaign. Suddenly it spikes and then falls and spikes and falls. It's just the pattern is very repetitive right now.
What specific misinformation would you say the government is
Not
trying to
misinformation, disinformation. It's a
disinformation?
very intentional, huge campaign. I've been working with the Syrian revolution for 14 years. I've been fighting against disinformation from the Assad in Russia or Iran, whatever. And this is much, much more on a very much higher level. It's much more involving most of the people I've worked with are falling for it and spreading it again. And some of them even I explained to them, I show them that this screen or this video or this massacre you are claiming to be a Bedouin child killed by Druze. It's actually a Jersey child killed by the security forces and the army that invaded in the first 2 days. Like the majority of civilians were actually killed in the first 2 days. One of the first day is the 2000. It's about the 2000 figure, the death toll of civilians. We are still counting because they are in their houses, in streets. We need to go and people who have fled to different towns with no communication, total blackout on Suwayda. So we are unable to know the exact number. But so far, the number figure is around 2000, and that would be the most brutal massacre in one day ever in the history of Syria. Even in the chemical attack on Ghouta, where I was just next there in Jaramana, I was witnessing that. The toll was about 1,400. So it's a very, very devastating massacre against civilians, and mostly in the first 2 days. The first 2 days where the deal was that the security forces would go into Suwayda and will not harm civilians. They promised not to harm civilians, and they were allowed. The Druze defenders of the city just put their arms down and allowed them in, and they were treating everyone nicely until they took control of certain hoods and multiple hoods around the city, like the key strategic ones and the center of the city. At one point, there seems to be an order to execute mass killings. They would go door to door, shooting people, stealing and looting their money and their cars, and taking their phones and the passwords as well. So they did. We didn't know that at first, but later on, the day after, we knew what's going on. They took all of that. They kidnapped many people. They grouped the young men into the square, about 100 people, only from our neighborhood. I'm outside Suwayda, but my parents are there, and that's the witness of directly from them. So they grouped those kids, and they started torturing them and killing them and shooting them. They grouped them around the square next to a tank, and multiple cars and vehicles and armored vehicles that are for the security and the army. So this is an official operation. My family managed to survive. They lost every valuable in their house. They looted all of that. They took my father's car under gunpoint, and they told him if you to give him the keys. If he didn't, he would be shot. And then he was told to take them to the house where my mother was, and they took even her wedding ring. And they killed two of our neighbors, and they humiliated an elderly religious person, and we don't know the fate of that person yet. So
Disgusting.
yeah, that's one example. But when we managed to have contact, just after 4 or 5 days of this, we managed to have a brief contact, internet contact with our family there. We are surprised to hear the same story from every other neighborhood around the city. So it's a very systemic, very bland thing. So that caused the first ceasefire, or the first agreement, to fall. That's when the Hijri asked everyone to stand up and defend for their families and their lives. And they already were doing that anyway. Like he didn't even need to tell everyone once they heard the news that, oh, they broke their promise and they are attacking civilians. Basically ISIS style. They are going door to door and So they managed to kick them out, and since then they were only limited excursions into the city, or I don't know the word if it's used correctly here. It's like to enter
Combing
the city from.
operations.
No, not common. They didn't even get into the city anymore. Only the 2 days, which there was like the highest toll. But other than that, the fighting is outside the city. Sometimes they would get into like one part of neighborhood and then kicked out or fall into traps or something like that. Recently, they had like 3 or 4 ceasefires.
Yeah.
Where they would send the tribes, 2 quotes there. They would get like really, really beaten hardly and pushed back. And when some of them fall into pockets, like the Suwayda people, the Suwayda defenders are playing a really smart military strategy, because they are much lower number. They are sieged. The Suwayda city doesn't have food, water, electricity, internet, and is bombed for 7 days or so. So now they have to play like the guerrilla warfare and try to like bait them into one hood and then attack them and something like that. So once they surround them in a bucket or something like that, they start the phase of ceasefire. We need to intervene. We need to separate, and they would send the security forces to come and attack in that bucket and then continue forward. And then they fall into a trap as well, and then pushed back, and it repeats.
Yeah. I mean, at least your family is safe, and that is good to hear. But our hearts go out to all the innocent.
Many of my cousins are reportedly killed. Many we don't know the faith of. Many of them the faith of. For example, more than 79 women and little girl is kidnapped, and we don't know their fate so far. And it's basically the ISIS kidnapping the Yazidi women repeated, because some of them are sending some of the accounts affiliated with this radical Islamist sentiment online. They are actually sending in their groups and sending to us sometimes on our WhatsApp and whatever pictures of these girls. And they caption it with, "Oh, she is very fuckable. We need it to be our sex slave," and stuff like that. Like this type of words to try to affect our morals.
Disgusting. Absolutely freaking disgusting. I wanna go a little back in time to right before everything went down. Can you give us a little bit of context about what precipitated this? I think most of the media have heard about kidnappings on the road between Damascus and Suwayda, between Bedouins and Druze. Can you give us a little context about what precipitated?
How back do you want me to go? I can go back like 100 years. I can go back to the last.
We were speaking on the call beforehand about how this is a very long-standing beef, almost, right? Because it goes back even to colonial times, about how the colonialists would favor one group over the other in land disputes. Assad continued this, right? And now it seems like Sharaa is also continuing this, but with regards to favoring Bedouins over the Druze. So go into that history a little bit if you can, but then also immediately what preceded the violence today.
Just in a short glimpse here, there is a big and long history of battles between the Druze tribes and the Bedouin tribes, and it's just like the normal, Arabian conflicts on land and because the also on culture, because the Druze are agricultural people, civil people, while the Bedouin are mostly rural people who graze and raise cattle and stuff like that. So and they are like, "Oh, your cattle ate my grains," or whatever. And it starts like that, and they sometimes try to insult our graveyard and like put a dead animal on our graves, and it would spark a whole conflict like that. It's usually like that, But it never went too much. It's always like sparked from outside. It's always after Suwayda is trying to revolt against like a certain dictator, when suddenly these problems spark out of nowhere, to be an excuse to send the army to suppress the revolution in the Suwayda. Surprisingly, since the start of the 2012, the 2011 revolution, the Syrian revolution, once it started, surprisingly, the people of Bedouin next to Suwayda in the east, for example, Maqwas and all the tribes around it, actually were friendly, participated. Like all of these beefs were stopped, and we had like one enemy, which is Assad regime, and they even participated proudly in the Dignity Square in Suwayda, and things were fine until the Assad regime fell. When the Assad regime fell, one of the Bedouin tribes, it's like a gang doing like drug trafficking in the far, far north, in an area called El Mutalle. And this one is much closer to Damascus than Suwayda. It's in the Damascus borders. It's not in the Suwayda borders anyway, but it's on the road linking Suwayda to Damascus. And they were working basically known for working in drug trafficking with the Maher al-Assad. Everyone knows that, and there are reports to show that. The only issue is that any stability in the south of Syria will cut their business and destroy their business in trafficking Captagon to Jordan and to the Gulf, which brings billions of dollars to them. So they didn't want to deal with that. So that's one of the start of the problems. And the other thing is political, which is the Sharaa actually managed to fool many of us, including myself, that he actually changed and he's no longer Al-Qaeda person. He is now a secular man wearing a tie, and he's now peaceful. He's and we found out the hard way that nothing is changed. He is no different from ISIS at all. The only thing is that he is really good at acting and hiding it in front of cameras. So what happens is that this whole thing was planned before, 7 months ago. So there was a lot of background when they started to attack Jaramana, if you remember. A couple of months ago when they attacked Jaramana,
in April,
and then the day after attacked Sahnaya, then the day after attacked Suwayda, and every day there was a peace deal, and then they would attack, then the peace deal, then attack, then it's the same pattern going over and over again. And then they would blame like, oh, it's the outlaw groups, it's not ours, it's not you know, even though they are their members, they are actual. We managed to identify actual members to in the army, in the Sharaa army and his security forces, but they are working basically off duty, or I don't know what you can call it. Like it's like he has this deniability always working for him, you know.
I mean, okay, and I know that ceasefires have been, you called them a smokescreen, but I guess like political settlements, which apparently, if you could talk to us about your experience in coordinating some of these settlements, because you mentioned that you have been in talks about hostage exchanges and stuff like that yourself. If you could talk about that, like that would be great. But also like things like you know, people within the Druze community who are willing to accept like the Syrian government into Jaramana, like wasn't the mayor assassinated or something for accepting help? And also like Laith al-Balous, he was denounced by his own group as a traitor for accepting it.
I will not answer the first question because it's a very sensitive topic, especially right now. There are live negotiations for hostages. I'm not involved in. The other thing is the problems in Jaramana. Basically, in every situation of these skirmishes or battles, the Druze were never the people who are attacking outside. Every time it's happening in our towns, in our cities, in our areas. So they are invading our areas. Okay, and that happened for the most silliest reason you can think of. Someone in Europe who is a Druze fabricated a voice note from WhatsApp of someone cussing like the revolution and the refugees in tents and their women and whatever in very, very disgusting language, and then cussing Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah, I remember
and
this.
that one was fabricated into and posted. That audio was posted into a different Druze Sheikh picture to make it sound like, oh, this is his voice. It's not even his voice at all. And that person actually published that audio, and that audio caused a havoc in Syria. Everyone started, we will kill the Druze, the pigs, for our Prophet Muhammad, for the, you know. And that led after like a tense situation for a different fight internally in Jaramana, which I'm not gonna go into much detail about. It's just like a person from Deir ez-Zor in front of Derzi Sheikh's shop, and that escalated into thinking that the Sheikh was killed, and it escalated to like a fight. So from a small incident, it quickly escalated into a big, huge invasion to Jaramana to kill the Druze and whatever. Then when that was rebuilt, they attacked Sahnaya the next day. And when there was a peace deal, also like the second peace deal in Sahnaya, the first one was in Jaramana, they attacked the shared checkpoints. Like the peace deals included that checkpoints inside the city should have half Derzi, half Sunni members. Like shared and mutual checkpoints to make sure that the city is, and all from the locals. But those were actually attacked and killed. Like even those were attacked and killed. And then they attacked the third day. They attacked Suwayda and like the northern part of it and the cities of that. They didn't get to the city, but they got into many of the villages. They looted, they burned, they and under the name of the general that used to commit a huge massacres in Deir ez-Zor, a general working for Assad. He's dead years ago, called Isam Zahreddin.
Mhm.
He's a very brutal genocidal general and Shabih who worked for the Assad army. He committed torture and mutilated bodies, civilians in Deir ez-Zor. So in Deir ez-Zor, there's a huge hate for this person. So one of the villages that was attacked is a village that he comes from.
Oh,
And they started to kill anyone who holds the same last name from his family. It's a big family, and many
Yeah.
people there even are anti-Assad and pro-revolution, and so
Yeah.
they started to kill everyone, and they even looted all the houses. They destroyed the Druze shrine worshipping place. Yeah, it's a disaster. So they did that. Then Al-Balous held tried to do some negotiations, and he had the role in holding the first, the second, and the third deals in Jaramana, Sahnaya, then Suwayda. But then those deals were violated by the government, and people were killed. Druze people were killed. So in Suwayda, the opinion was split politically between Balous and Hijri. Half of the people were with Hijri, saying that there's no solution, no peaceful solution and political solution with this government. It's ISIS in disguise. We need to just to keep our weapon and fight for it. They will ask us to give them our weapons, and then they would murder us. Don't trust them. Don't give them the weapons. So that's the Hijri camp. Okay, Hijri camp. The Balous camp was that, oh, we can have some sort of a deal. We give them the heavy weapon. We keep this. We do this. We give and take. But every time he made a deal with the government, those groups that are denied to be in the government, but they are actually part of the army, enlisted in the army, they would attack and kill and sabotage the deal. And internally in Suwayda, people would blame Balous for the loss of their children and their guys, because you told us it's safe. We trusted you, and then they got killed. So you tricked us. So people started to trust Balous less and less and move towards Al-Hajri more. And noting that Al-Hajri is the Pope of the Druze, if I may say. It's the biggest and the highest order. We call it the Sheikh of Wisdom. We have 3 in Syria, in Suwayda, 3 Sheikhs of Wisdom. 2 of them are like historical one and the local one in Suwayda city. But Hajri is basically the Druze global top clerk, basically.
So even like people
So-
in Lebanon and Israel, like
yeah, they would listen to him.
Right.
Anything he says is religious duty, basically.
I see.
Me personally, a secular Druze, I was politically against Hijri because I knew that his choice will lead to straight-on conflict, war with the government, and I'm not sure this war would be like it would be very bloody. So I'm not gonna. I don't want to take that. I'm still trying. Oh, maybe he changed. Maybe the Sharaa is no longer like radical. Maybe he speaks nicely. The things he says are convincing. Let's give him a chance. Let's try to give the peaceful political solution a chance. So I was sided with the Balous camp, but that didn't last long, because once they attacked Suwayda and did this massacre, violating the like we allowed them in. We dropped our weapons to allow them in. And once they get in, suddenly they started to attack people and invade homes and kill everyone. And even one of our far relatives, they actually burnt him in front of his family. So it's very, very like disgusting type of crime they are committing, and you would start to see the pictures now, sadly. The thing that happens once that happened in the first day, 7 days ago, basically, everyone is now in Suwayda, is all every Druze in Suwayda, even Christian in Suwayda are now one. We are not politically divided now. Like the politics opinions, we still each have their own political opinion, but it's not politics now. It's survival now. We are getting genocided. They come on the tank. There are videos of them on the tank, okay, which cannot be like a tribal thing. A tank is Ministry of Defense. He is on top of the tank on video saying, "We are coming to exterminate you, Druze pigs." Many videos like that. Okay, so it's very clear that their problem is not with Hijri. Their problem is that they do not want any area out of control. They do not want any, like they say, we refuse to have any armed groups outside of the state, which is a legitimate ask to say, right? But we saw in the past few days all of these arms coming in thousands and thousands from everywhere around the Syria to kill Druze in Suwayda. So wait a minute, didn't you say you removed their arms? So how did they get all of these arms? So it's just they want only to have arms by on their hands, okay, on their official army and security, and on their unofficial so-called tribal army.
But regarding that mayor that was assassinated, could you comment on that? Okay, was he in Jaramana?
In Sahnaya.
Sahnaya, okay.
And he was assassinated after the deal, because after he did the deal, and they came and killed him. So and
because
most of the people who
he
fought
allowed
in Sahnaya,
security forces to come in.
No, he actually agreed at first, but those are trying to break the deal. Basically, they are trying to sabotage the deal. The plan from the beginning was to actually invade Suwayda, to take the weapons from Suwayda, and the plan even is much bigger than that. It's geopolitical in the region. There's like a plan to redraw the borders of the region, but I don't know if it's appropriate to talk about it right now, because we are going to drop into analysis instead of facts, and I'm trying to stick with facts right now. But it's bigger plan than just the small incidents here and there. Those are just an excuse to execute the plan. So Al-Sharaa doesn't want anyone to have any power to object to him, and he wants to have all of the power in his hand. He didn't, for example, they attack Hijri because he has some of the former Assad's army officers. They are serving in the groups that are affiliated with Al Hijri in Suwayda. But they say we want to arrest them, but there is no like warrant to arrest them. There is no no justice at all, no court system at all.
And there's Assadists walking free all over Syria, not just in Suwayda.
The actual Fadi Saqr, the actual Assadist that committed the massacre of Tadamun, the head of the massacres in Tadamun, basically, and I come from Tadamun. I was born in Tadamun. My family is from Suwayda originally. So this person is now in the Four Seasons, in the most luxurious hotel in the middle of Damascus, and they even allowed him to come and walk on top of the bones of the people he killed. And that actually was the point where I started to say, oh, wait a minute, he's not into justice, he's not into building a democracy. There is something fishy going on, and that was like months ago. And by the way, for like a really interesting remark, you wouldn't notice a single word of democracy in all of his statements or any of his speeches in 7 months.
Or secularism or multiculturalism. No, of course, like because you have to remember, like, his biggest support base is probably not sectarian, maybe like conservative Sunni Muslims, and so he's like most likely pandering to them the most in his speeches. But they're also upset with him too, because they think he hasn't been strong enough, right? And I'm trying to, like, we've talked about ways that the Syrian government has hindered progress in terms of cooperation with Druze forces in Suwayda and in Druze neighborhoods like Jaramana and Sahnaya. But could we talk a bit about what you think is hindering cooperation with the Syrian government on the Suwayda militia side or the Druze militia side? Because, like I said, like I mean, from the perspective of Syrian government supporters, they say we went into the city after they were asking for protection. Suwayda residents were asking for protection, so the army came in.
We heard that before, right? It's very familiar.
Let me just continue. So, like, they said they came and then they withdrew based on a ceasefire, but during the ceasefire, there was violations, and now like Hijri went back and forth saying we don't want protection, we do want state protection, and also just in terms of like the mayor that was assassinated. So there are people who maybe like maybe it's out of outrage, maybe not deliberate intention to undermine progress, but there are ways that you could categorize actions from Suwayda or Druze militias that are undermining a progress of unifying Syria under one government. Because even if Sharaa were to accept power sharing, it would be under the Syrian state. It would still be under a unified Syrian state, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not asking for separatism.
Yeah, in Sweden, as you said, we never asked for a separatism before, and we are known in the history of Syria, in the independence of Syria, that it was started by the revolution of Sultan al-Atrash from Suwayda, and we paid the biggest price of blood for the independence of Syria, and after we were offered to have our own Druze state, which was like spoiled basically by the French, we rejected, and we said we don't want our own. We want to be part of the Syrian people and whatever. And in the Syrian revolution, we also kept stressing that, and that continued until just 7 days ago, when the bloodshed and the massacre started. The issue is not about like separatist. There's no separatism in South. The issue is that we want to take your weapon, and we want you to trust us, to hand us your neck, and trust that we wouldn't massacre you like we did in the coastal regions, or we wouldn't, you know. He didn't even give us any guarantees. He didn't do any like justice for whatever crimes that happened and violations happened. No one was held accountable ever. Even Shapiha of the Assad regime were not held accountable. There is no single like court for any one of them right now. So the justice is totally out of the window. The democracy is totally out of the window. All we see is just a very, very, very brutal, basically enragement about we are Sunnah, we are Bani Umayyah, the Umayyad dynasty. We are. It's just like a lot of the basically Nazi rhetoric. If you read the Germany just before it flips all Nazi, it's exactly the same. And the enragement of people, the Sunni people, suffered a lot. Like basically the people of Deir ez-Zor, who some of their children attacking Suwayda right now, they suffered a lot. And many of these crimes were committed by Alawis or by some small percentage of Syrian like from Suwayda officers, okay? Because also, as I told you, the Suwayda doesn't allow their more than 75,000 young men of Suwayda defected and hid in Suwayda city and around it, and were not allowed to be arrested or to be forced to or dragged to the Assad's army, including myself. So that actually was the reason Assad sent the first ISIS attack before. And now actually we see the same exact people with the same exact vehicles, with the same exact styles of killing. Like it's a copy of what happened before, but on a very, very much bigger level and volume. Like to go back to the question, like if you can just phrase it again so I can just connect the dots to it. I don't want to.
Yeah, so just like ways that progress towards unifying Syria have been undermined by the government. We've covered that. Are there ways that you would say that there has been undermining from the Druze, like militia side?
The Hijri is just saying that we do not want to be separate. We want a Syria strong, unified, but we will not give away our weapons. If you want to control Suwayda or to like have security in Suwayda, it should be security from the guys of the Suwayda, basically like people from Suwayda hired or recruited into the police force, and they would govern their own governorate, which is a very logical ask. But the devil is in the details here, okay? Because some of the people who are nominated for this worked under the Assad regime before. So that's another, some of them, just a tiny percent of them. So that's actually a big problem for many people, including myself. I wouldn't agree to that. But at the same time, I'm against handing weapons because, as you see, He didn't take the weapons from the other tribes and the other cities and the other groups. So you are taking our weapon, but not yours, and you are threatening to kill me every day.
Mm.
So I cannot trust you. Like there's no way to trust you.
Mhm.
There was political divide until 7 days ago, where everyone now is one in Suwayda. We will never allow any radical ISIS mentality to actually control or rule Suwayda ever again in 1,000 years after what happened to us today. What happened right now, the last trigger, just to give a little bit of background as well, started with a group called Al-Mutalla. I think I explained this a little bit for you. And Al-Mutalla,
Refresh my
in
memory.
the road
Sorry.
between Suwayda and Damascus, there was a Bedouin group that is involved with Maher in the trafficking. And this group was actually coordinating with a checkpoint for the security forces of Al-Sharaa, Al-Jolani, in that area, just a couple of hundreds meters away. And they were doing the very gangster thing, which is the checkpoint would actually wait for civilian like traders from Suwayda to come through. They would hold them, try to like inspect them and check if they have any valuables or money or whatever. And if they do, they would actually give a hint to those Bedouin gang to actually go and set up the ambush. And they would delay the inspection enough for them to be ready, and then send the person to be captured. And they would capture him, hold him for days or hours sometimes. They would take all of his money, all of his the car and everything. And it's usual, it's very common for the past few months, that in Suwayda they would go and capture a couple of civilians from the Bedouin side, and the next day they would just do trade and give us our man, take your man, and we're at peace. And that worked for many months before. But the last one, he was captured, a trader, and he was wealthy, and they took all of his money. But his family are part of an armed group. So they went to a very peaceful community in the Bedouins in the Maqwas, east of Suwayda, that was not actually involved in any attacks recently. In maybe in more than 14 years, there was a big like revenge going on between them and the Druze in Suwayda. But since then, things were calm. They were peaceful. So they took 8 civilians from there. Those Bedouins as well in Maqwas also took 8 from the Druze, and they negotiated for an exchange, but that failed. And it turned into suddenly failed. Like it was actually, I think deliberately failed by the Sharaa government. Then it turned into a conflict inside Suwayda between those, as an excuse to allow Sharaa to say, "Oh, now there is a conflict. I need to send my security and my army forces to act as a peacekeeper." But what they did is to actually take the side of Bedouins and invade into Suwayda and do the battle. Then there was the peace deal. And they were telling us, we are not here to fight you. We are here to fight the troublemakers, the people who started this incitement. So allow us into the city, and all civilians will be safe. They treated them nicely until they got into the middle of the town, and that's when they started to go like ISIS-style executions. That led to everyone in Suwayda to pick up fights, and Hijri telling them to do so as well. And they started to fight for 2 days until they managed to kick the forces out. Since then, the literal security forces and the literal army did not enter Suwayda since then. And that's when also the Israel threatened them and bombed the Ministry of Defense and bombed the tanks outside, because they were in our neighborhood, in our street, there were 3 tanks going and circling the block, in addition to many cars, and like it was a huge show of force trying to crush you. Like we are here to crush you, basically. Do not resist. Do not do anything.
And Sharaa thought he had the support of the USA to do this. He thought that Israel would not, step in his way.
He signed a deal with Israel just 2 days before when he was in Azerbaijan.
They called it a misunderstanding that Israel thought that he wouldn't go into Suwayda, and Sharaa thought he's allowed to go into Suwayda and seize control. But
it's not a misunderstanding. It's like an actual Yeah, we are
power
going
play.
to geopolitics now. Okay.
Power play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. It's part of the
Yeah, I
part of the
mean, it's a
equation.
plan to actually. I'm gonna be short here. There is a
Yeah.
lot of evidence, but I'm not gonna go through that. But I'm just gonna say it quickly. The plan is that they tested Sharaa to say if he is able to control and leash his very extremist groups in his army, officially and unofficially in under his control, and if he can control them. They tested them in the coast. They failed. They tested them in Jaramana, Sahnaya, and Suwayda, and they failed. He always failed the test that he can control them. And now Israel does not trust that the promises from Erdogan, from Trump, and from Sharaa and Mohammed bin Salman that trust him. He is able to take control. He is able to leash them. He will not let them go and invade into Israel to liberate Al-Aqsa or Gaza or whatever. So he failed that. So now Israel wants to defend their borders, the southern borders, themselves. And the way to do that is to actually throw Druze into the churn. Okay. If the Druze, like basically, Israel wants to take the southern part of Syria.
Yes.
Okay. To make it into a buffer zone. So it would be protected from any future attacks. But the people of the southern Syria are against separation, are very loyal to the Syrian state, to the revolution. They don't want to be separate from the Syrian people. So the only way to actually push them to accept this is to commit a genocide, that a massacre that is too brutal, that would actually make them lose trust in the Syrian people and in the Syrian government. And that's actually what happened. I'm personally, I was against any separation, against any federalism or whatever in Syria. Now, I will not allow Sharaa to rule me ever in 1,000 years. I don't care who gets into control in that area. I don't give any. Yeah.
What you're saying is if you believe that Israel would actually be a valid protector, you would be willing to accept Israeli rule over the southern
I
portion
mean,
of Syria.
if my in the first 2 days we were massacred, and the massacre was planned to continue 4 days. Okay. And the Israeli army managed to stop it by dropping bombs on the tanks and the armed vehicles, and we outside the city, and we managed then to fight inside the city and kick them out in 2 days, which was very brutal. It was very bloody. We lost so many because we are fighting not as the defenders of the city on the borders of it. We are trying to kick them from within our houses, within our alleys, within our streets. So it's very dangerous fight for us, and it was very costly for us. But we managed to kick them out. But Israel had like a little bit of a role with that, because they actually destroyed all of the heavy tanks and reinforcements that were able to keep this going for a longer time.
And
Yeah, since then Israel didn't actually engage in any meaningful way or ever in the last 5 days, and it was only a fight between us and the unofficial tribal, they call it tribal groups. They are literally armed forces of Sharaa, just without off duty basically, and with a different uniform, which is the tribal uniform, and they are attacking. And the huge numbers, huge numbers, but the people in Suwayda, they are fighting with more motivation. They have more to lose because they are defending. If I don't block them and if I retreat, my wife will be killed and my children would be slaughtered. So I have to fight till the end. So that actually gave them an edge. And in addition to that, because of the deal that the Israeli did with the bombing, is that they are not allowed to send heavy tanks anymore.
Yeah.
So it's more on equal grounds now. Like no heavy tanks, no the drones, the suicidal drones and stuff like that happened in the first 2 days.
Yeah. And I think we saw Israel come to this deal and stop their bombing campaign because of U.S. pressure. But I want to know from your perspective, how large of a sentiment do you think it is within Suwayda, within the wider Druze community, to accept a potential Israeli invasion and then potential occupation of southern Syria for your protection under that basis? Do you think that
Every
would be
single one.
really?
Every single, including myself. And I told you before, Hayyan, that an Israeli sniper killed 17 of my friends in front of me. One of them, my colleague at the university. She was 3 months from graduating, called Inas Shreitah. I was born in Tadamun and lived my life in Yarmouk and lived my life in Yarmouk Palestinian camp with Palestinians. So I'm culturally partly Palestinian, basically. So when in the 2011 like demonstrations on the borders of Jolan and the right to return and stuff like that, many of my friends were shot there. 17 were shot dead, and I told you 575 were wounded. Some of them, they have their blood on my shirt. So I'm trying to say here that I'm the last person in the world to accept Israeli protection, you know.
Yeah.
But now, when my parents almost escaped death twice, like few minutes separated them from death, the person who actually managed to protect them to go was killed. A young person was like risked his life to manage to allow my family to run, and he was actually killed. May his soul rest in peace. So sorry. So I would,
Yeah.
if the devil himself comes to me and tell me, okay, I will cover you in the air to protect you, and I'm gonna take the deal.
And people said the same with, like, I know a Kurd who is very anti-SDF, and he said if the government started doing this in Kurdish areas, what it's doing in Suwayda now, I would become #1 fan of SDF. And a lot of people, same thing with, like, I mean, Sunnis now, like, we are the biggest fan of Al-Sharaa because we feel like finally we have like someone in our corner defending us, and we're willing to overlook and excuse and justify so much. And everyone is susceptible to kind of going towards who they think is going to defend them and protect them, especially when there is no alternative. Because we saw even a peaceful sit-in in Damascus where all they said was stop the bloodshed, was also attacked and harassed in Damascus, when all they were saying was just we want a peaceful resolution, and people were accusing them of like, you're Zionists, you're in this and that. And so what do you say to people who say, like, you've seen the videos of the tribes who said that if Sharaa will stop us or tells us to go home, we will go to his home and overthrow him? So what do you think of, like, I know you say that the Bedouins who have mobilized are just the Syrian army that are off duty, but I do think there is a mobilization of general Bedouis who are very, very fed up with how Sharaa is trying to present himself as liberal, or, you know, to the West, as if he's not going to go after minorities. And for that reason, they see that a lot of criminals who are minorities, or even just like even Sunni criminals, have just been able to walk freely in Syria, and that Sharaa has not gone after them enough. And so now they view this, they
didn't get after them at all, not enough.
Right, and
no
so
single one
they
was
want
held
a more
accountable.
heavy-handed response, and so they mobilize now. They're like, we are not going to let the government stop us from enacting our revenge on these people who killed our sons or whatever. They're talking about soldiers, but obviously they saw images and videos circulating of disinformation saying like, you know,
let me
this
tell
and
you
that.
exactly like a visual explanation of this. It's just that there is 14 years of genocide, mainly against Sunnah, okay, who paid the heaviest price with 1 million martyrs. People who lost their loved ones under torture, in massacres, in Tatamun massacres, in very, very brutal ways. They are filled with rage, filled with revenge, filled with anger, you know. They are radicalized to the maximum in this 14 years, okay? And then when you promise them justice and you don't give that to them, you don't deliver for a month, 2, 3, 4, that anger will grow and grow and grow, and they will explode eventually. So instead of them exploding against you, you would just put the target, draw the target on someone else. Oh, actually, your target is the Alawis, and they go and attack the coast out of anger, and they do huge massacres and criminal things or whatever. And you can spark it with the same bait, which is to send a few newly recruits, very, very young people from different, like a couple of every city, put them there as a bait, allow those, like, I don't know,
to be cannon fodder.
yeah, the Assad's guys to actually ambush them and kill them. That would direct the anger from all of these cities, different cities, to the killers of those their children, and not only their killers, the whole region, the whole Alawis will now are now the target. The same thing he did in Jaramana, the same thing he did in Suwayda. In Suwayda, what he did is he put 20 of his young recruits in a very, very clearly ambushable position, and he did those violations when the Syrian people in Suwayda, like the people in Suwayda, the local people in Suwayda, picked up guns and started to fight back. They killed those 20, and those 20 allowed all the cities in Syria to erupt in angry demonstrations, chanting to kill all the Druze in payback for those 20 soldiers.
I do want to bring it back briefly to Israel again. One of the images we saw, I don't know if it was Al Jazeera or Middle East Eye who was showing these videos, was Israeli Druze going into the Syrian border, flooding in. I think there was even a video of one Druze man taking his nephew, who was from Suwayda, back to Israel, as what he said was for protection until things die down. What is your sentiment seeing those videos, seeing Israeli Druze, whether it be from Majd al-Shams or whether it be from Israel proper, going in and taking action into their own hands? What are your sentiments at that?
Yeah, there is a very good point of separation we need to put here. There is the national, or like the governmental loyalty. Okay, the Druze of Suwayda are historically the most loyal Syrians to Syria.
Yeah.
Even when Aleppo accepted the offer to have their own state for a while, or Deir ez-Zor, they had their own state for a while. The only and the biggest rejection was from the Druze, who didn't rejected to have their own separate state from under the colonization, and they wanted to be one free united Syria. So it's a very, very strong connection there. But culturally, the people in Jolan and the Druze of Palestine, Israelis on IDs basically, but originally they speak Arabic. They sing our songs exactly. They have my own accent exactly. They have the same traditions, the same celebrations, the same religion, the same, the same habit. So we connect. We think of them as our brothers. We don't think of them at all as someone different. And even there are intermarriages between us, but it's only one-way marriage. So if the bride decides to go and marry someone, a bride from Suwayda marries someone in Jolan, she goes there and she is not allowed to see her family for the rest of her life. She cannot go back, or the other way around. Okay, so there is this type of deal that would allow you to go and marry, but for only one-time crossing, because it's under occupation, as we know. So, but they are treated as inside Israel, they are treated as Israeli citizens. So they have rights. They even, some of them serve in the army. They had decades ago, there was a huge, intifada amongst them, very famous, rejecting the Israeli identity, and they wanted to have Syrian IDs and stuff like that. It's like the revolution of the IDs, they call it. But recently, they all integrated into society. Basically, they had their own culture, their own traditions, songs, whatever. But they are treated legally as any other Israeli, and they serve in the army, and they serve in one of the elite forces in the Israeli army, which is called Jolani. And they even got into battles in Lebanon or sometimes in Gaza, or so some of them got in fights all over the place, and they are loyal, military loyal and politically loyal to Israel, but culturally and historically loyal and religiously loyal to Suwayda. So when you attack Suwayda, you are attacking their cultural heritage, attacking their brothers, attacking their religion.
Yeah. I think there was a poll conducted relatively recently. If you go back like even beyond a year ago, I think it was below 20% that would say that they recognize themselves as Israeli. But with the events in Majd al-Shams, you probably remember the rocket going into
Yeah,
the playground area, killing the kids.
yeah,
And more recently, with what just happened, I think people I've seen on social media saying it's above 50% now that feel
yeah,
that they are Israeli. Is that something you're
yeah.
recognizing in conversation with people from Majd al-Shams?
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you about my own experience on this. I would answer for my own. I don't have like direct contact with anyone there. We don't have any like direct contacts. It's very complicated and you know. But the thing is, I understand from my own experience. Like if I am going to be armless, they would take all our weapons in Sweden.
Hmm.
They would
Hmm.
rule us by force, by Sharia law or whatever
Hmm.
they want to try to apply on us
Hmm.
because they are starting to do certain laws like about like the beach wear
Hmm.
and like they would invade in Damascus, for example. They tried many times to invade any restaurants who might serve like alcohol or whatever and destroy it and beat the people in a very brutal way. And like they are they are treating everything like the only thing they know is the hammer, okay, which is like a brutal fight for 14 years against
Hmm.
Assad.
Yeah.
Like in how to translate that in English, like the spearhead forces or something like that that go
Yeah.
into break into the enemy lines and just those are the type of brutal, and they are doing the job of a police
Mm,
against a civilized society. It's not gonna work, you
yeah.
know. So even if the Sharaa wanted it to work, but now I don't think even that he wants it to work.
Yeah.
He's actually using them as a tool, and he is aiming to make it into basically a dictatorship, a
Mm,
very extremist Islamist dictatorship. So when
mm,
they attacked us, for example, in Suwayda, and they want to rule us by force, that's the definition of occupation. If you put some a gunpoint at my father's and take their car, loot their house, you are an occupation force. You are not my
yeah.
government anymore.
Hmm.
You're not my army anymore. You're not my
Yeah.
security force anymore. So
Yeah.
now I'm left to have a choice. Do I have a choice with an occupation that actually is trying to kill my family, to kill my neighbors, to kill everyone I know, or
Yeah.
with an occupation that would treat me with respect and send airplanes to actually protect me and save
Yeah.
my life? And send, by the way, Sweden has been under full blackout, siege, no electricity, no internet, no water, even for 7, 8 days now. And the only people who sent aid, the only aid
Mm,
that went in was the aid from like
true.
helicopters through Israeli aid
Yeah.
through an American helicopter
Yeah.
with medical things. And so when I see that, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm being forced to choose between two occupations. One is trying to save me, one is trying to kill me.
Hmm.
Mm,
Who should I choose?
yeah. I think a historical parallel, I've seen personally to what's going on, I think is very similar to what was happening in the early 80s in Lebanon to a large degree, right? Israel, of course, the main justification for going to southern Lebanon was to root out the PLO and then
Yeah,
Hezbollah, but also a secondary reason was to protect the Maronites.
buffer zone.
And
Yeah,
yes, create a buffer zone, and but a big rationale for that was to protect one specific minority group, the Maronites, who were in
yeah,
constant conflict with the
yeah.
PLO and Shia groups. Do you see any historical parallels to what is going on? Because to me, our large basis is using a minority group to justify a land grab, right? And if they can say, "Oh, we're the protector of a minority group,"
Yeah.
right? That's a great reason to take more land. And Israel took Mount Hermon already, and they've been trying to go even further into
Yeah.
Syria. Do you think that is Israel's true basis? Is using the Druze as a scapegoat to take more land?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. Like I told you, like basically it's a very dirty, big geopolitical plan.
Yeah,
But the issue is that even if they are they went to Lebanon to protect the Maronite, which
yeah,
are Christians, even though there are no Christian population inside Israel.
yeah,
But here there is a very strong voiced, united Druze population in Israel that actually controls high ranks in the military command.
very
So they
true.
have a little bit of a word to say here. Okay,
Yeah,
and they have much stronger ties to Suwayda than any two communities you would think of. Like, it's a very strong connections. Even in the Syrian revolution, they actually participated with us. They started in the occupation Jolan, like doing the Syrian flag or whatever, which I actually, for the first time, only 7 days ago, after flying the Syrian flag for 14 years, risking everything in my life. Okay.
Yeah.
I risked my life. You know, Hayan, you've been with me a long time, and you know the risk that I have to go through just in order not to be dragged to the Assad army and be forced to kill my own Sunni brothers in Idlib or Homs or Deir Zor or whatever. I participated in protests. I helped the investigative team about the Tadamun massacre. I actually worked with the white helmets many times, including with the earthquake. I tried to do all of these types of work as an interpreter and as an human rights activist. I actually like risked a lot of my life. I lost a lot in my life in order to try to help the Syrian people, because I thought of it as, this is my people, this is my revolution. It's for freedom, for peace, for democracy, for us to be free and to say whatever we want, to live in peace. Nobody would threaten us with a gun at our heads. And I believed in it. I believed in it for the sake of the million martyrs. I worked so hard for it. It is the most painful thing. It's the most painful thing to me to see all of my fellow activists, if I might say, now attacking me, okay, calling me a Zionist, calling me a Hijri troll or whatever, calling me a traitor, calling me a traitor, okay, and inciting daily
against
that
your
I
community.
should be killed, my family should be killed, I'm a Druze big. Like, how can I feel that I'm connected to them? So since 7 days ago, I put down the flag. It's down there, and I'm stepping on it every time I go out and into my room. So it's now.
I'm
sorry. I'm sorry, and
get it.
I'm sorry to everyone who lost someone, loved one, a martyr or tortured. Those are the people I'm sorry for. But the revolution for me, 7 days ago, I buried it with the first child that they killed in Suwayda.
Yeah, the flag behind me, like I've debated like putting it down, and I know a lot of people in the first couple of days when violations were reported from the Syrian army were saying like, I give up on Syria, it's a lost cause, we're not going to improve, things are only getting worse and worse. But I don't know, I think that our revolution was always noble, and we always knew that we were that we had allies.
But it ended. Like, I was faithful to it. I do
Yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah. I
I
get,
do
but
not
I
at
know,
all
Just
regret
how
what I did for
I'm
it.
reconciling
Yeah.
my feelings, if it's okay to share. Like, I think there's a photo of HTS stepping on the green flag back in the day, right? I think that like I've decided that people are always weighing consequences of actions and saying like, oh, if we resist this government, we might end up with someone worse. But I think if we don't resist it, we still could end up with someone worse, because like there's no saying that someone could overthrow Sharaa from within his own circle and say like, Sharaa was too patient, he's too liberal, I want to actually exercise like actual Sharaa, for all his faults, seems like he doesn't want to exacerbate sectarian tensions. Imagine someone who's like shamelessly trying to exacerbate, and he could come in from within his own forces. So I've surrendered to the idea that I don't have an expectation of where Syria will be. I just know that I can control my actions, and I know that when I see something wrong, I have to speak out against it. I can't be quiet about it. And that to me is the revolution. Like the green flag is going to be, to me it's going to mean justice, even if it's worn by people who are unjust. And I don't expect anyone to follow the same lead, and I know that everyone has their own like way of reacting and coping, but that's how I view it, as like, al-Sharaa was never part of the revolution to us. Like before December 8th, 2024, many of us protested against him. People in Idlib were protesting against him. We gave him a chance when he liberated Syria, and we were like, finally, someone did it. He stepped up. And I think people have run out of patience. People were already out of patience like the first month. More and more people slowly did. There was a phase of celebration and honeymoon, and like we just really liked, promoting him and saying he's this and that. But within a few months, I had already become slowly disillusioned, and I was seeing that people are just like, this isn't a joke to them. They're not joking. Oh, Sharaa is like a genius. No, they actually view him as like some very special guy. And it's like, no, he's made mistakes. It's okay to acknowledge them. And despite how long you've known someone during the revolution, they still will call you a traitor. They still will you try to find ways to dismiss your judgments, saying you're like, I've been called like Kurdi. I've been like, people are like, they're trying to find a reason for why you might be biased. Like, oh, you're Canadian,
because
you're
if
liberal.
you have an opinion against me,
Mm.
I couldn't defend it by logical argument. Then I should just throw basically push it
Dismiss
aside
you
by
because of
dismiss you
your
by any other and that's what exactly I was kicked from all the groups that I tried to post into, and I only posted photos from تأكد verify Syria. Okay, that shows that the picture of this child that is claimed to be a Bedouin child killed by Druze, it's actually a Druze child killed by the armed forces.
Yeah.
So I only posted those, and I was kicked from every single revolution group that I worked with them for 13 years, 14 years.
Yeah.
It's a very, very, very deep stab in the back. It's I cannot even explain. Okay, I cannot even explain. Even when they came and took my like, they looted our houses and the cars and whatever and killed people and whatever. I'm like, you sell the blood of 1 million Syrian.
Yeah.
And buy a car, loot a car for that, or loot I don't know, a wedding ring or whatever shit they looted.
Yeah, man.
Because we've been robbed of justice.
Yeah.
Because the Syrian government hasn't done much in the way of showing us that criminals are going to be prosecuted. People want their own revenge, and they're enacting it on their own, and it's horrific, and it's become too normal.
Yeah.
And I want to add one point here is that in addition to your point, Hayan, I had no trust in Sharaa to begin with, and I was an enemy until the day he actually liberated Syria. I was an enemy of Sharaa because he actually was about to execute and my cousin. My cousin tried to escape. He's a young man, 19 years old, escaped from Jaramana, Jersey, from Jaramana, because he was about to be drafted to the army. His family loaned all the money they can, sold everything they can to afford a smuggler's route for him to go out. Instead of going through Lebanon or whatever, he said, let me go through Idlib because Idlib is liberated. It's the revolution, so it's the safer route for me. They will never harm me. He went there, and the Jolani captured him, and they dealt with him as a spy for some reason. Even though he never served in the Assad's army at all. He was about to be drafted to it, only because he was Druze from Germany. That's the only accusation. They were about to decapitate him in a month until we managed to force call people in high places to actually try to force a negotiation to release him. So I was very, very enemy to Jolani until when he toppled Assad. Then I was like, okay, whoever person frees us or liberates us from Assad, yeah, exactly. I would give them a chance.
Yeah.
I still didn't at all trust them. But then when I listened to him, he was talking very secular and very nice type of smartly political speech and doing smartly political things. Like the things he was doing were somehow in the correct direction. He missed in a very key points like justice or any democracy or anything that actually would build a state or
But we were patient. We were charitable. We were willing to put up with it.
From the first week, I put a decision, a red line for myself, which is as long as he doesn't shoot at people or kill people in the streets or arrest them and torture them for their opinion, no matter how much I disapprove the things he does, I will just be against him politically. The moment he does any of those things, I'm gonna be against. It's a revolution against him. It's a rebellion against him. That's what my decision. But I didn't imagine that to be and to go into this far,
Yeah. One thing I'm especially fearful of now, we've already talked about his failures, but there is a more extreme current that could come about from his own services and overthrow him. And to me, that would be basically the 1940s all over again, right? A series of coups in Syria, very tumultuous time. So what would be the best thing that Sharaa could pragmatically and realistically do in regards to Suwayda, in regards to his government? What would you like to see to end this and potentially put him on a correct path forward?
Do you want to answer that first, or?
I, if you don't mind, I'll answer, and you
Yeah,
tell
I
me
will
where
take
I'm
this way the
falling
part.
short, because
I
I
don't want
have,
to.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think, like I said, people are patient and they were willing to be very patient. But when this clash happened, like the first couple of days, I saw so many people willing to criticize Sharaa for the first time, saying like, no, he is failing. This is bad. This looks awful. Then they saw the videos of the Israeli flags in Suwayda. They saw that Israel bombed Damascus, and it kind of brought a lot of people back. I saw someone literally say like, I forgive all of his mistakes now. This has made me 100% supportive of Sharaa because Israel attacked Syria. And so,
And they,
yeah,
yeah, they
go
were
ahead.
mad for the wrong reasons. Like the videos of Bedouin children killed were actually Druze children killed. Like he killed them,
Well, they
abused, and
no, like
recycled the
even
videos
well, we've discussed this as
yeah.
well. They're mad that he's sending amateur, untrained sons of Syria to go and be ambushed as cannon fodder, right? They're angry at this too. They know that he is not sending people who he thinks are like he trusts them or that they're gonna protect everyone. He's sending them to get killed and then to incite outrage in Syria so that more people will support him. And people were catching on to this, especially people from Idlib, because many of their men have been the ones who were massacred and ambushed in the coast and in Suwayda. But again, like that they were willing to be critical, and then Israel kind of, I think, shot up his popularity again, in my opinion. But what can be done is it's getting very close to saying that he should step aside, but I think he just has to he has to delegate way more. He has to delegate more authority, and it can't just be his inner circle, the people who have been like standing with him in Idlib for 5 years, or have been on his journey from past groups until now. It has to be people who are technocrats, who have preferably never picked up a weapon at all, who are well educated and speak the language of inclusiveness and multiculturalism and diversity, who don't
Yeah.
speak the language of, like
Sectarianism. Sectarianism and
sectarian.
conservatism.
Like, yeah, like I get like a Muslim majority Syria is always going to have something like Muslim coded, like his speeches. He starts them as if they're a Friday sermon. You noticed that, like
Yeah,
Rami,
it does. Yeah.
he's like
Yeah,
a
but
salatu
I don't mind
wassalam.
that because like
Okay,
he is
okay,
Muslim. I don't
yeah.
mind a president who would be acting on his faith and his
Mm-hmm.
culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the problem is when you start to send your army to kill me. That's my red line is there. It's like it's a very big step
But see,
between
like people
yeah.
are willing to say like, oh, these were misfits, these were bandits, these were unaffiliated with the army. You have said they are
We've never
affiliated with the army,
yeah
and it's
yeah
it's over. I don't trust them anymore.
yeah they have like a military number to make it clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so they are actual they are like they actually try to use the tribals like to say that I'm not even I shouldn't say that, but they are using that's like some background information we managed to collect that about the forces that came. They are not actual tribal forces. They do not represent the real tribes. They are just some very extremely ideological, like brainwashed group from different tribes that they are just working for him as like a Plan B army, like a dirty cop, and instead of the good cop. You know, that's the only thing is they are not actually representative of the tribes
Hmm.
in
I think
Daraa
that
or in
I think that
Deir
they
Zor,
are
whatever.
so big and they are somewhat independent. Like, yeah, they're supportive of the government in general, but they're so big that like Al-Shara, if he wanted to oppose them, like they would come for him too.
Yeah.
So like it's yeah, they are not unsupportive of him, but they are willing to overthrow him if he tries to stop them.
But he is not trying to stop them. He is actually
Because he knows they're willing to overthrow him, you know, like
he's controlling them basically. I would say he is the one, like exactly it's the same question that, oh, is it actually Bashar al-Assad giving orders for the army to drop barrel bombs and he's the bad one and they are just obeying orders? Or is it the army who is dropping bombs and committing massacres and he's unable to stop it? Like, it's a very, very question that muddies the water. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. People are being killed. This army is responsible for it, and those are taking order from you. So
exactly, no, that's another thing.
your
Is like even if
responsibility,
all of the violations were done by Suwayda militias, the army and this, I know I'm saying even if, which
Even
they're
if.
not obviously, but the Syrian army is still the one that has the mandate to protect, you know, like they are not supposed to enact vengeance or, you know, extrajudicial killing and things like this. But sorry, we drifted from the question. What do you personally think is needed
In
to
Suwayda,
reconcile all the sides in Syria?
yeah, in Suwayda, it's a very clear decision. It was made the first 2 days of this massacre when we started to hear from our family and parents about what happened. And it was very, very complicated. Even right now, I'm worried about them, and I cannot contact them, and it's very hard to get in touch, even to say like a single message to go through and say, "Oh, منيح," or "nice," I'm fine, I'm okay, you know. Anyway, the solution in Sweden was already, the decision was taken. Every single Jersey people now will never, ever in 1,000 years accept al-Sharaa or any Islamic radical government to rule over Sweden. So we will not put our heads under any sorts. It's enough for us. So basically, we are there are two things. Like basically, this was made out of two factors. The first factor is that the Syrian army is invading Sweden and killing people there, and the security forces also doing the same, and the massacres they did. So we lost faith in that, but at the same time, the internet was cut all over the Sweden for the first 2 days. Then it came for like a couple of hours in the next morning. Okay, so people were launching their phones to open Twitter, to open YouTube, to try to see all of the cities around Syria full with protesters saying, Suwayda, we are with you till death. We are with you. We are with you. You know, as Suwayda did to other cities. Suwayda did for 14 years. Suwayda stood and celebrated and saluted every single city and defending every single city. And they said, we are with you. Idlib, we are with you. Homs, we are with you. Deir Zor, we are with you. Even when, for example, the Assad Shabiha came and looted the houses in Dar'a, they came with those looted trucks into Suwayda to make the market in Suwayda. So they would say there is a Sunnah market in Suwayda and like spike the sectarian problems. Once the people in Suwayda heard about this, they rushed into the checkpoints and into the entrances of the villages, and they stopped every single one and they burned it with everything in it. They didn't allow any loots to be sold in Sweden, because we will never allow feel good about ourselves if we actually buy a boat or like allowed a looted. We didn't even go loot it. We didn't loot it. Okay, we didn't allow it to be sold in Sweden.
I understand.
So we had this strong like connection. Even when Dara was you can hear, you heard the video just yesterday or the day before. Khansa Horan, the lady from Horan who was tortured and arrested and lost all of her kids. She's a very, very like.
I didn't hear.
Yeah,
about
you
this
should. I'll send you the video. She had a long video asking the Bedouin and the tribes of Dar'a not to participate in this. They are telling them. She's telling them, no, don't go kill people of Sweda. I would tell you, I was there. I saw them. They were sending me when I go to buy like food and medicine for Dar'a under siege. They would risk their life to get me through. They would give me everything without any money. They would donate everything. They would try to help in every way. They would risk life in every way to get like milk, baby formula, medicine, bread, everything to Dar'a under siege. They were the first ones to actually hold sit in the Suwayda legal solicitors union. They made the first ever, in the first week of the revolution, they made the first ever sit-in or against Assad, and it was under a heavy security control of Assad. Like we were risking our lives to do this. And she said that all the people of Daraa who actually fled to Suwayda from the bombing in Daraa, no single tent was put for them in Suwayda. All of them were housed in our houses, were treated as guests, and felt as part of the community. They were treated nicely. So now you repay Suwayda by sending your kids to kill them, to loot their houses, to burn it. Like even one of the smart military plan I told you about that the guys in Suwayda did is that they actually thought the west and the north are already lost. They cannot defend the villages, small villages in very open terrain, attackable from all sides. They couldn't defend it. So they tried to rush into just a few hours to be able to evacuate almost half of Suwayda governorate, all south, okay, which was a very hectic thing. And they set up ambushes and defending like positions. So the attacking forces entered those empty towns and started setting fire up in every single house after looting it. So all of our houses there are burning, and they kept burning for 2 days. And even the media, they started to say, oh, they are burning tires to distract the Air Force. But you can clearly see in the images that this is the house burning, not tires. Okay. All of the houses are burning, all of them burnt. You can see it in every report now, and now you would pay attention to it. You would see it. It was all looted. And in addition to that, they did many other things. Like, for example, when the government asks for a ceasefire and to make like a buffer zone, and they ask for safe routes to evacuate their wounded and their people, to withdraw their people. So Hijri would offer them 2 routes, one towards from the Wal Umran in the north to the northwest, basically Walgha, Al-Mazra'a to Busr al-Harir, and one to the southwest, which is towards from Kanakir to Mjamir and Busr al-Sham. And for 2 times in a row, they go there, the security forces go there, claiming that they are going there to stop the attack and to evacuate the tribal forces, to convince them to go back. But instead, they would actually spearhead the mission into the hood and go into a bucket. They twice did a bucket inside, and that's when my parents also were about to be killed, because that bucket reached to our building, and they did killings in buildings. My parents just managed to escape just 15 minutes or 20 minutes just before that. They did really, really terrible crimes, and like it's all recorded in video, and they are proudly even doing it and recording it as Shabiha style, So the thing is that all of this was done in a way that we knew beforehand that they are going to break their word, and they were going to use the safe routes as an attack points. And so we already prepared defenses and ambushes there. And once they entered the city, tried to enter from those safe routes, they were met with a really crushing force. So that's why all of the hospitals in Daraa are full with wounded fighters.
One question I have, and it's related to my previous question, is after the revolution, I think there are many questions about, is everyone in the state a full and equal participant of the state, right? No. I think when it was under Assad, the definition of the state, it was the Syrian Arab Republic. Arab was the definition of the state. And Kurds and others said, I'm not a full and equal participant of this state, right? I'm not Arab. And I think when HTS took over, there were questions. Would it be an Islamic state, right? Because they're a nationalist Islamist group. And
they don't allow, but except for a Muslim to run for presidency, for example, in the declaration of
and
constitution.
I would currently say it's a soft Islamic state, right? Jews and Christians aren't paying jizya, right? Those overt Islamic Sharia guidances are not in place.
Yet.
But there are, exactly. It could get to that level, especially if conservative pressure is on al-Sharaa to move it in a more conservative direction. And so I think regardless, if it's an Islamic state, a large sect of Syrian society will never feel as if they're a part of this state. And I think that is a big rooted issue about why we're seeing what's happening in Suwayda play out, right?
Even the Sunnah. Like,
Yeah.
let me ask Hayyan. Hayyan, you are Sunnah, okay? Do you feel part of this such a state?
No, and that's another
Yeah.
thing is like a lot of us have varying levels of patience and varying levels of like willingness to support this government. And from the beginning, like I've had my issues with it, and I was like, let's give it a chance, let's be patient. More and more, it's just been you have to give us something for us to work with. He's been giving us much less and less to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, they started the war on the coastal regions. Then they started a huge like wars with regulations against the Sunni population, trying to like force their Salafi version of Islam, which is very, very
Stringent.
restricted on a very moderate Muslim community in Syria. It's very, very like
Yeah.
very loose and moderate
Damascus
type of Islam in Damascus.
metropolitan, like
Yeah.
Cosmopolitan, they would never go with
cosmopolitan.
that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and then they started to do problems with the Christians. For example, you know, the Dwel'a church explosion. So it's just because one preacher, they started to send like very annoying, very inciting preachers on loudspeakers going through like Christian neighborhoods or Druze neighborhoods, playing like I don't know, like certain verses or certain
calls to
yeah, it's like we will
to
kill you and
da'wah.
cut your heads, and you know, like
Oh,
it's like
okay.
it's not the proper verses that you should use
Invite
in this
people to
context.
Islam with, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not. You don't invite people to Islam by we will kill the infidels or whatever. It's
Wow.
not. It's not how you do it.
Yeah.
And for the irony of it, in one of the official TV's live streams from Suwayda, and he's reporting that the army and the security forces are going to enact the peace deal and retract the forces or whatever the attacking forces, and behind him there is like a car with loudspeakers going and playing exactly one verse that I'm not sure if I should say right now or whatever, which is
They killed the
basically a very war.
disbelievers.
It's a very
Yeah.
war verse against
Yeah.
infidels or something like that, you know?
Would you? It's hard to achieve a new state identity without another revolution, and I wonder, do you believe that there is a way
I
to
don't have
Syria?
no, I don't have
Yeah.
it in me for another 14 years of revolution. Let me tell you
Yeah.
this. I
Mm.
didn't see my family for 14 years. I couldn't even go to get like a passport. Right now, I'm suffering from so many problems with regulations and with the laws here and whatever, because I do not have a passport and I do not have like only because I can go there to the embassy
Yeah.
and pay Assad a few $1,000s and
Yeah.
get a passport, okay? But those
Yeah.
few $1,000s always in my head are the price for bullets in the heads of my fellow Syrian people. So I wouldn't do that, and I stopped. I risked. Basically I put my life on hold for 14 years. I risked so much. I lost so much. My family lost so much. All
Yeah.
I was in Tadamon. My house was looted. Everything we had was looted, and we looted again and looted again. It's very terrible to start your life over and over again, all
Yeah.
for a revolution, and then you find this. And the problem here is two sides. The first one is from the government, which is
Yeah.
killing me. The second thing, which is actually from the people, from the activists of the revolution, who know me, who have been with me for 14 years, and now they are accusing me of being a traitor. Now
Yeah.
accusing me of like threatening to kill me and inciting violence against Druze, and
Yeah.
calling me a Jersey pig. That makes me wait a minute. I'm not willing to go into this again. I
Yeah.
just want to save my family.
Yeah.
I want to sway out of this,
Yeah.
and I don't care what happens to you. Like if you want Sharaa, let Sharaa rule you. If you want to get rid of him, okay, go. I will just stand on the sidewalk and just clap for you. I wouldn't want to pay any more prices for
In my
for that.
eyes, the way to attenuate the prices, to attenuate the bloodshed, is a state identity where everyone feels as if they're not only represented, but they feel as if they have brethren that are not from their own tribal group, right? When a Druze and a Bedouin and an Alawite and a Jew and a Kurd can all say, we are one people, I think that is how you attenuate the bloodshed. But in my mind, I'm like, how do we get to that level? Getting a state identity where everyone feels they are part of that national ethos without some sort of revolution. So in my eyes, to stop the bloodshed, you would need another revolution, but to get to that revolution, there will be bloodshed. And so to me, I'm in this predicament, and I want to know, like, if you are in the same predicament, but it seems like at this moment you're focused solely on ensuring your community is able to live, right? Which is, of course, the most important respect for all of us, right? We just want our families to be alive. But to ensure future generations don't suffer the same fate as what we're seeing now, I think we need something that allows us to get to a new identity for everyone in the national ethos. It can't, in my opinion, be Assad with the Ba'athist Arab rhetoric. It cannot be what Sharaa is saying with the Islamic rhetoric. It has to be a new national identity where everyone's full and equal participants in the state. But I'm just stuck, man. I just don't know how do we get to that point without, say, another revolution, which in my eyes would probably inflict a lot of violence on many communities. But I'm just wondering, are you of that mindset, or are you in a different place at this time?
Would you go Hayyan first?
There's been positive words. All we're asking is for them to implement those words. You know, there has been things that we hear and we're like, wow, that's great. You're going to hold criminals accountable. You're going to, you know, include everyone in Syrian society to take part in government. And so far, like from what I've seen, they haven't suppressed protests. And that to me is like the biggest sign that, like, okay, like there's normalcy that's still being, there's a sense of normality in Syria now that isn't like it's a police state anymore. Like someone yelled, it was a Bedoui back in, like, I think it was in January, a Bedoui yelled in Sharaa's face saying, like, you are leaving us in Suwayda to be ambushed by Druze or something like that. And like he confronted Sharaa to his face and yelled at him, and he didn't go to prison. There was no, so like I'm hoping that more and more, as more people become disillusioned and the honeymoon phase is over, we can build room to criticize this government, because I'm still invested in a Syria for all. I'm still invested in a revolution that does, you know, root out injustice in our country and allows us to start a new leaf for all Syrians to enjoy participation in their government. I think we skipped a lot of crucial steps to achieve that, and now we're bearing we're suffering the consequences of it, and we're seeing the consequences of skipping those steps now. But I still think, like, I don't care if Sharaa is the one to do it. I just think that reconciliation is needed for us to move forward in any meaningful way that isn't just reversible really quickly.
For me, I would think of it this way: the Sharaa is not. I didn't like. It's not. I lost my trust in Sharaa now. Sharaa is actually my enemy, who's killing me right now. Okay, who has been killing my family and my relatives for the past 7 days. So he's my enemy now. It's not a question of, oh, how can I make fix him or what? No, it's not fix him. He's my enemy now. It's not from my side now. Now, who I can bet on? The Syrian people. The Syrian people were actually stabbing me in the back. I'm being kicked and killed, and my children are being massacred. And the Syrian people, instead of going to the streets to chant for me, to chant for Suwayda, to chant for, they came to celebrate and encourage and call for more killing and more death, and to support the army in what they are doing. So now, how can a revolution with such people will not end up well? It would end up even worse with someone who's more radical than Sharaa, as you would suspect. But leaving him also is not a solution. So that's led me to the solution that, okay, I'm not gonna be forced into this. I don't have to be forced into this. I give up on this. I want to have my own local Suwayda community, safe and separate, and not to suffer anything, whatever goes in the rest of the country. And that's that's actually, like, it's I don't feel that. I feel a little bit bad for the people, the Syrian people, because I know there are many of them who are not able to speak, because if they speak, they are afraid to be arrested, like that activist who spoke yesterday. Remember? Zena something, Zena Shahla, or Zena something like that.
I remember.
She
was she arrested or she was harassed by people?
There was one who was harassed, and one who was arrested. I just forgot the name. I'm really, I haven't slept for 5 days, and
I
I'm
know,
really not
and
focused.
me too. Like, I did a lot of research before this episode, and
I didn't.
Yeah,
so excuse me for this.
No, it's okay.
I find narrative in the that will explain it in the history. Basically, if you go back to the Zionism, Zionism was the child and the result of the Holocaust. When you massacre people on a very huge level like a Holocaust,
Yeah.
the people would get out of that surviving, but would soon start to get into the mentality of like
Protecting your community.
brutality
Focus on your
and
community. Yeah.
revenge, and they would become their own
Well, we've said this about Alawis with Assad, why they
Yeah.
defend him, and Shias with Hezbollah and Jews with Zionism. Like everyone has like something that, or Kurds with PKK. Everyone has like something that they run to and decide like this is looking out for my interest
Yeah.
better than this whole Syria thing that
Yeah.
has kind of been screwing me over and stuff. I
tribal
think what we're
mentality.
seeing is the
Traumatized
unifying.
people, basically.
Yeah.
Sorry?
The Syrian people is heavily traumatized people
Of
by the
course,
genocide of 14 years.
and
So
and we're seeing
they are
how
not
the
thinking
breakdown of our
And her
unity
people.
used
Sorry. Yeah.
like Assad used to be able to unite us. Now we don't have that kind of person to rally around, and we're
Yeah.
seeing people regress into
Yeah.
their own community, feeling like they have to look out for themselves instead of trying to, because the government isn't giving them much to work with. Like I said, like to feel like this is going to become a Syria for all. Like we need all hands on deck. It's kind of been like, no, we'll handle it. You don't worry about it. We'll take care of it, and not many outlets to complain and stuff.
And in the example of the Holocaust and Jews with Zionism, hurt people hurt others. They transfer their pain onto others, and that's what happened with
that's
the
the result
Palestinian
of
people.
now
Yeah.
they are like reflecting this to Gaza, reflecting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And the
that's what
same
I
now
think is
in the Sunni community.
exactly. And exactly that's what I think is playing out to a large degree. If Sharaa would have taken a stronger stance for justice and showing the community, the entire Syrian world, that he was actually on the side of justice, I think it would have gone leaps and bounds in suppressing this vengeance, this vigilante urge that's currently, I think, devolving the state into chaos. And
Yeah,
go
the
ahead.
thing is, justice, he didn't at all go that direction. And
didn't.
he said that, like, he didn't
Yeah.
actually lie to us or fool. He
Yeah.
in the first video he made, which was an official video from a YouTuber and with
Yeah.
the side camera or whatever, he said that you are going to ask for justice and for the bloods or whatever. I had one choice, either to forgive all of the crimes and give you a country, or try to seek the revenge and destroy the country, the future we have. He said it directly like that. So since then,
And
I also
people
commented on it, and
and
I was
people praise that as like
yeah,
a liberal way to deal with it, because you're not going
yeah,
after, which it would basically be a bunch of Alawis, like
yeah.
mostly, right? Like a lot of the
Yeah.
criminals that he would have gone after. So that, like people were like, oh, so he's like not trying to persecute Alawis, and then we saw more and
But
more
actually,
that like
that led to a
you
massacre
pay
to
you pay
into
the
a lot
price,
of
exactly. So the
civilian
amnesty
alloys.
still paid a price at the end of the day, that people were outraged, and so they enacted their own vengeance. And I think
But
what we're
actually, he was the manager and the person giving orders to do this. It's not the people that, it's just I like, you would believe before Suwayda events, you might fall for it that, oh, they are just like uncontrolled, but it's not that. It's actually
Mhm,
orders by Sharaa to go and commit this. The same thing in Sweden right now. It's not
mhm,
outlaw gangs or out of control tribal sects seeking revenge or whatever. It's all under his orders. And that's the same reason he didn't want to do any justice. One faction in the army attacking Suwayda and making a video and saying hi or salutes to Al Marsumi is actually, Al Marsumi is the biggest Shabih for Assad, and he has a big faction fighting for Assad, now is fighting in Suwayda. So basically, we are being killed by the same people who killed the other
mhm.
people in other cities throughout the 14 years. It's just they changed the color of the flag. They changed from Assad to Jolani. And that explains also that he didn't at all include any of the defectors or the Free Syrian Army officers who were ready to take a role in building the army and the
Mhm.
state and security. And they had a huge experience.
Yeah.
Why? Because they defected once, when they were ordered to shoot their own
Mm.
people. They will defect again if you tell them to shoot your
Well,
own
he
people. But if you
preferred
have
to stick to his
yeah,
inner circle, I think. He
yeah,
only used loyalists. He only appointed loyalists, and he
exactly.
had to appoint a few SNA because Turkey probably pressured him. What do you think of the report that the USA, the CIA, said that there's no proof linking al-Sharaa to the violations against Druze. Did you see that? They came out with it.
That's also we go back from information to analysis here.
It's okay. This is the last question in my opinion. I'm sorry,
and I
we have
think
to. We don't want to go too
that
long,
they
but
are
this is the last one. I think.
they are playing this game of oh, he's good. Let us give him a chance, and he
Yeah.
would go, and they would allow him further and further and further into the very bad position. Then they would close the door and tell him, okay, we will get you out, but you need to give us this and this and this. Okay, so that's, I think the plan is like
Get you out of power or out of
no, to plans to like give away the south of Syria, to give away certain conditions, basically.
like they'll cover for his crimes if he gives up part of Syria?
Yeah.
Okay. I was
But
because
also,
I think
also there's another analysis that says that it's all planned, that a plan that he also approves, that he pushes all of this like criminal gangs of him to attack Suwayda, to make Suwayda people just give up and want to separate, which would make it would serve the Israelis, and that would allow him to have guarantees to rule Syria forever by the Americans. So it's just
Allah yastar, man. Allah yastar. He better not be selling us out like that. Like I
mean, Hafez al-Assad did that before. It worked.
Exactly. That's the thing. Yeah. And I thought just going back to 1974 agreement would already be betrayal. But if he gives up even more of Syria to secure his own power, that's but the thing is like a lot of like Syria فزت وقت اللي شافوا like Israel supporting al-Hijri and if they saw that Sharaa خلاص he made a deal with Israel, like I think a similar thing would happen too. Like they would be
would
outraged.
Start chanting and praising for him for his wisdom, and
he will
become
changes things.
the hero of the peace and the war. Remember those titles that Hafez had? It's exactly the same. That's why I gave up on the revolution. I'll make a bet with you right now. Okay. He will make peace with Israel, or like any commitments with Israel in the next 2 to 6 months. He already did a cease of fire with Israel, like a cease of military operations or whatever deal is that called.
And
he already
they haven't attacked again, right? Like
no,
Israel hasn't intervened since that agreement.
Yeah, but it's not. They can if they want. Like it's not that it would stop them. But I mean, this agreement didn't spark any outrage in his community. It's the other way around.
Because we know they're talking, but we're not. But we know that like so far they've been able to lift sanctions without him normalizing. They've been able to go to or I think he's going to UN without normalizing. Like there are things that you would expect that they would have.
It would be like a price. This for that.
Yeah, they would have said, "Oh, you normalize and then we'll do it." But he's been able to do that, so people are like, "Okay, maybe he doesn't have to sell all of it." And because also it seems like Trump is for sale. We know that he likes money, he likes bribes. Qatar and Saudi are flushing cash into his wallet to support Sharaa basically, and Turkey is like the same. And Israel can't outbid to Saudi and Qatar.
You would think. The thing is, Israel proved that they are the pulley of the Middle East. They are the only ones, the boss of the area, basically. They even beaten the strongest military in the area, which is Iran. They made it like a joke, basically, by bombing the nuclear.
Yeah, but like with money, with influencing U.S. policy.
Yeah. So the thing is, Trump's plan, the bigger picture, is that Trump's plan wants to make peace in the Middle East, make peace in Ukraine on any terms, even if it is like unstable or loose terms, or even if he had to give away a lot, to other like local forces or powers, in order to relocate his American forces into the Southeast Asia, where it's expected there would be a very huge war on Taiwan with when China is planning to invade in 2022 to 2027. Okay, that's the expectations in like military circles and stuff like that. So the plan, the plan to do that, it needs to guarantee there's a peace in the Middle East, and the peace in the Middle East in Trump's and the American policy is the Abraham Accords. And to pull Saudi Arabia and other countries to the Abraham Accords, there needs to be huge changes politics and geopolitics lines.
Yeah, that's
and
more
drawing a new
analysis.
lines.
Yeah,
And drawing those lines, borders are drawn with blood of civilians. So that's the blood of Druze right now.
Okay, man. It was a pleasure speaking. I
me-
mean, it's horrible, but it was obviously nice catching up with you, and I appreciate your input. Do you have any final message, final
I will
words?
just say, may peace be for the souls of every civilian killed in this terrible and dirty politics game. I also salute the brave men, every single brave man fighting to protect their family, to protect their homes, to protect their land. I really salute them. I'm astonished by the bravery they showed in the last few days. It would be written in history for hundreds of years to come. Trust me, and you would see the pictures and the videos soon as we start to get internet back, and you would be all amazed of the bravery of the people of Suwayda, who actually managed to stand up for 7 days now, fighting all of these forces coming. That actually managed, like one of the forces, the Asab al-Hamra, took Aleppo in few hours, or even less than an hour. Okay, they couldn't take Suwayda for 7 days now. So I salute them. I salute them. They are the bravest, and I feel honored to be part of that brave community. And I wish the best for the Syrian people, but I'm sad to say I do not feel I'm part of the Syrian people anymore.
That's devastating to hear, man. I wish that we could give Syria a chance, even if the Syrian people or the revolutionists and activists and the current administration have let us down. But I completely understand what you're saying and where it's coming from, and I can see it brings you great pain.
I remember every friend, every person who I protested next to, every friend who was tortured to death. They didn't die in vain to get this. They died to get freedom. They died to get democracy. They died to have Syrian people live free. But instead, look what we got. Instead, look, even the people who their brothers and their daughters and their loved ones, they sold their blood to come and loot a washing machine from Syria, from Suwayda, or my mother's wedding ring is. I'm gonna cuss on your record. I don't want them to think that I gave up the revolution easily, or I gave up. I turned my back on the Syria.
I don't think that's what people will think.
I wish you good. I pray you make it and win, but I will just stand on the sidelines and clap to you. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for this, but
no, don't apologize. I'm not the one that's like gonna be mad. I'm trying to build bridges between our communities, man.
And it's not because the government committed a massacre in Suwayda. That is not the part that actually broke me. The part that broke me is that when I went to when they came back online to see the response from the Syrian people, the response was kill them more, celebrating our killing. And that's when I just lost faith. Like, I didn't find anyone on the streets. I didn't find anyone even online trying to even say, "Oh, stop, ceasefire," or something. Like, you don't have to stand with me.
Well, there was the sit-in, right? Like Wafa Mustafa.
It was 7 days too late, and only 4 or 5 people. Those people, I feel I belong to them. Those people, I feel I share something with them, but I do not share with the other 20 million.
I can't make it better. I can't. But I think that we have to start somewhere, and even if it's just 6 people at the sit-in in Damascus, like, this is a good start for me. Like, this is the group that I want to make a coalition with, and I wish I could be in Damascus to build more coalitions, like, with people on the ground, because I'm tired of being in Canada and commenting on this stuff. Like, I wish I could join them and show solidarity too, and work parallel from the government. Like, I don't need the government to go and build bridges for me. I can build those bridges and then show up to the government and say, look, we made a coalition. We're advocating for this, that. I have the power of the people behind me. Yeah, it's still optimistic, and I think, like, I'm still naive to. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got distracted a little bit. I got a message from my family.
Sorry it ended so abruptly. He had to go. Thankfully, his family is okay, though. We appreciate you watching this episode.